Everything in life has a price, and the way you handle the transaction determines the kind of power you hold over others. Law 40 of the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is one of the most psychologically charged laws in the entire collection because it strikes at the very core of human pride, vanity, and the dangerous illusions created by what people perceive as generosity. The law is simple in wording but profound in consequence: despise the free lunch. What does that mean? It's not just about refusing a free meal or declining a handout, it's a principle about how value is created, respected, and perceived in every human interaction. When something is given for free, its worth in the eyes of the receiver is diminished, no matter how valuable it actually is. People are wired to equate price with value. The more they pay, whether in money, effort, or sacrifice, the more they appreciate and attach importance to what they acquire. It's a primal instinct, born out of survival, where effort equaled sustenance and laziness led to starvation. The things one works for, struggles for, or pays dearly to obtain become more treasured because they symbolize one's resourcefulness and strength. Now, when someone offers something for free, it often cloaks a deeper, sometimes sinister intention. Nothing is truly free in this world. Every gift has a string attached, whether visible or invisible. In accepting a free gift, you place yourself in a position of obligation to the giver. You unwittingly cede power. The ancient principle of reciprocity, deeply embedded in human psychology, dictates that you must repay kindness, even if you didn't ask for it. And the one who gave can now demand something in return, having placed you subtly in their debt. There's an art to maintaining autonomy, and one of its key elements is controlling what you accept from others. History is littered with the tales of kings, queens, generals, and merchants brought down not by swords or armies, but by the invisible chains of generosity. A prince offered refuge in a neighboring court may soon find himself a pawn in the king's political game. A noble given lavish gifts by a rival could later be called upon to return the favor in ways that compromise his own position. Greene warns that it's never about the material value of what's given. A small favor can weigh heavier than gold when it comes with implied obligations. At a more everyday level, this law functions in social circles, business dealings, and personal relationships. Imagine someone who always insists on buying you drinks, paying your bills, or giving you unsolicited help. At first, it might feel pleasant, even flattering. But sooner or later, those favors will manifest expectations, demands, or emotional leverage. The dynamic shifts. You are no longer dealing with an equal transaction. You are playing a game where someone else has silently claimed the upper hand. The wise, therefore, learn to pay their way, to make their own way, and to avoid falling into the trap of invisible obligations. It's not about being antisocial or refusing kindness for its own sake. It's about understanding the cost behind every gesture and deciding which prices you are willing to pay. Sometimes it's better to politely decline a gift, to pay for your own dinner, or to walk away from a lucrative deal if the strings attached might one day strangle you. Conversely, the skilled manipulator can use this law to their advantage. Offering things for free, whether it's advice, services, or actual gifts, can be a potent tool of control. Human nature dictates that the recipient will feel some level of gratitude and an almost subconscious urge to repay the favor. The giver can then steer this sense of debt to their benefit, sometimes immediately, sometimes years later. The clever power player knows how to appear generous while secretly sowing the seeds of dependency and control. In some cultures, particularly traditional ones, gift-giving rituals are explicitly designed for this purpose. In ancient China, imperial officials would bestow extravagant gifts upon local governors and tribal leaders not simply out of kindness but as a way to establish a hierarchy of obligation. The receiver, even if a ruler in his own land, now owed a debt to the empire. In turn, this weakened his independence and made him more susceptible to influence. Greene reminds us that generosity is one of the most refined forms of manipulation. This law also speaks to self-respect and the image you project to others. The one who insists on paying their own way, who refuses to be beholden, exudes a certain dignity and confidence. It signals that you are not for sale, not easily swayed, and not a pawn in someone else's game. That alone can command respect. On the other hand, those who greedily accept every freebie or handout not only diminish their own worth but risk becoming viewed as opportunistic and weak. People instinctively despise those who take too much without giving back, and even well-meaning generosity can turn to resentment if the balance of exchange feels too lopsided. There's also a deeper lesson here about self-sufficiency. The powerful cultivate resources, skills, and networks not only to amass wealth or influence but to avoid being in positions of desperate need. It's in moments of weakness and neediness that one is most vulnerable to manipulation. The wolf in sheep's clothing appears as a friend in times of hardship, offering comfort and aid, while silently setting the terms of your future indebtedness. The one who pays their own way, who builds their own fortune and solves their own problems, closes off these avenues of exploitation. Interestingly, Green also highlights the psychology behind pricing and perceived value. Businesses and individuals who offer their services or products for too little, or for free, risk being seen as inferior, regardless of their actual quality. It's not arrogance, it's human nature. The artist who undercharges for their work is assumed to be less skilled. The consultant who works for free is deemed less authoritative. The product given away as a promotional freebie is treated as disposable. By placing a high price on what you offer, and charging it, you declare its value and your own. But this isn't a call for cold-hearted greed. True power lies in knowing when to be generous and when to be reserved. The powerful can indeed give freely, but only from a position of strength and only when the gift itself furthers their own goals. Acts of strategic generosity, when carefully timed and appropriately scaled, can cement alliances, win loyalty, and disarm rivals. The key is to ensure that the gesture benefits you more than it costs and that it never places you in a position of dependency. There are countless stories in history of power dynamics altered by a simple gift. The Trojan horse was presented as a token of peace and surrender but concealed an army within its hollow frame. The conqueror Tamerlane would shower his subjects with wealth and feasts before demanding unflinching loyalty. In Renaissance courts, paintings, rare artifacts, and titles were exchanged not as innocent gestures but as calculated moves in a continuous game of influence. To master this law, one must develop an instinct for the hidden price tags attached to every offer and an awareness of the long game being played by those who appear generous. Despising the free lunch doesn't mean rejecting every kindness, but rather recognizing the transactional nature of human relationships. It means paying your own way whenever possible, understanding the power dynamics at play, and refusing to be cheaply bought. The strong build empires on their own terms, while the weak are trapped in the gilded cages of favors owed. In the long run, paying for what you want, with your money, effort, or cunning, ensures that what you possess is truly yours, free of obligations, and that your power remains your own to wield. The free lunch is an illusion, a baited hook in the guise of a harmless meal. And the wise, if they accept it at all, know precisely what they're swallowing.